right, heroes, coming to you live from sunny Southern California. It is I, your friendly neighborhood Rabbi John Carrier. It's been a minute, I'll say, since we've had a fun Friday. I've been traveling and attending to various responsibilities here in the community, the online community as well as the offline community, hanging out with my family and friends, going to New York City, and I see Nawa64 is already in the chat. We just made a very important appointment. If you catch my drift, good to see you here. Excited to welcome you guys to Southern California soon. So a little inside baseball here. But in any case, I'm really happy to be back. Took a couple of weeks off to kind of recharge my batteries, refill my spiritual bucket. Went to New York City to the Rising Song Institute's intensive. Learned some Jewish song, how to sing Jewish songs, how to teach Jewish songs to other people, and had a fantastic time singing with about 200 some people who were passionate about Jewish music. D. Willexen in the house, good to see you here, buddy. And I'm going to take a brief musical interlude, then show you my face. I've missed your face, I know that much. Lee, Ty, Ariel, shalom, everyone, good to see you here. I've missed you guys, so I'm really happy to be back. And I got a new game that I'm excited to play. I've never played this game before, but I've been excited to try it. A friend of mine recommended it, so we're going to play the Untitled Goose game today. If anybody's heard of that, if you haven't, then buckle up, friends, because we're going to annoy some folks with a goose right after this brief musical interlude. Alrighty, everybody, right size that music playing. Got KG Wilcox in the house. Glad to see you here, KG. Let's see, you've got an emote. Thanks to KG Wilcox's subscription. Okay, you've got it. Okay, very cool. This is a new thing. I got an emote. I got KG Wilcox in the house. Happy New Year, everybody. Triggers and Viv, I've missed all of you so much. Likewise, Triggers and Viv, I feel the same way. How are you, D. Willexen, says Lee Tyrio. This is, you know what, I miss you guys. This is the nicest, warmest community I've ever seen online. Bar none. So, wait a minute. I said I was going to show my face, and here it is. Sorry about that. So, I've got this great, Texas No Limit Hold'em dreidel t-shirt that some of my students gave me for a holiday, maybe Hanukkah, or it might have been my birthday, I forget, but some of my students here in SoCal gave me this shirt, so I wanted to sport it today, even though you can't see it. Welcome back to the Jew Curious Show live, everybody. This is Fun Friday. If you haven't been here before, what we do is we get together live. I answer whatever questions you have about Judaism, maybe share some thoughts that I've been having. Most of my thoughts are about, I'll say, good news and bad news. Had a fantastic week in New York City. Actually went to New Jersey, visited a classmate of mine from rabbinical school, Rabbi Howard Tillman, at Congregation, I want to say B'nai Israel, CBI, it was the initials of it. So there's a C and a B and an I in there somewhere. And it's in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Rabbi Howard Tillman, by far one of my favorite rabbis in the universe, and spent a great Shabbat with him. Then went to New York to Hadar's Rising Song Institute Singing Communities Intensive. I don't know if that's the full name or the correct name, but it was me and about 230 rabbis, cantors, song leaders, camp coordinators, people who are passionate about using music and song to build community in Jewish spaces. And we were there for 4 days singing together, and it was intense, and it was amazing. Last time I went to this thing, it was like, I don't know, 50, 60 people in the basement of a small synagogue in the Upper West Side. This time it was 200 some people taking over a very large synagogue in the Upper West Side, and we had a fantastic time. And so, you know, if anybody's close to where I teach and preach here in Southern California, want to come by and learn some new tunes with me, love to have you. I make it a policy not to sing too much on my live stream, so you'll have to be in person for that. Triggers of Vips is looking good, Rabbi. Very nice to see you. That's very generous of you. Thank you. Rabbi, love this shirt. Trigger, good to see you here. D. Willexen, I'm actually quite tired, but I'm hoping to make use of Shabbat for some rest. I am with you, brother. I usually I'm a bit of an insomniac. I have poor sleep habits, poor sleep hygiene, as some people say. My spouse goes to bed same time every night, gets up same time every morning, really is intentional about getting a good night's sleep. Me, I don't know. I have this like overwhelming case of FOMO. I always feel like sleep is like giving up on the day. Not that I'm that productive. I'll just like watch TV till I fall asleep or work until I fall asleep. But then on Shabbat, boy, do I make the best of that. You know, I'll usually get a good night's sleep, 8, 9 hours on Friday night. You know, go to services, come home, maybe have a little snack, go to bed, wake up, go to services, come home, take like a solid 3-hour nap. So I get a good night's sleep on Friday, a 3-hour nap on Saturday, and that most def recharges my batteries for the week of poor sleep habits to come. We have, what is it? Hekla, hello from Copenhagen. Welcome. I don't know if I've seen you here before. Really happy to have you here. So we are international, y'all. Good to see you. Sienna 51, hi from Portugal. My goodness gracious. We've got people from Denmark and Portugal in the house. Good to see you. I was actually, I have nothing to say about Portugal. I've always wanted to visit. I know Portuguese, don't speak Spanish, but I took a lot of Spanish in high school. Always, one of the places I've always wanted to visit, never have, is the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, Portugal. Heard good things, would love to visit. I did visit with a friend over my trip to New York, whose mom is Brazilian, and you know, I don't know if they were speaking Portuguese to each other a little bit, but that's my one connection to Portuguese, which is not Portugal, and I'm a cultural bonehead. So sorry about that, but I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for coming in, Sienna 51 from Portugal. Looks like we're going to go worldwide in the new year. You know, we've been international for a while, y'all. I think since we started the Jew Curious School and doing live streaming and things like that. We've had people from Cyprus. We've had people coming in from Germany. We've had people coming in from Thailand. You know, coast to coast here in the States as well. So now I see, just looking, we got people in Washington State and Colorado and Pennsylvania and now Portugal and Denmark. So I'm going to turn off the music here. And in just a minute, I want to dive right into the game soon. Maybe not this second. So let me turn the tunes off so we can talk to each other unperturbed. I will say this. So I said the good news. The good news was I spent a wonderful week in New York, and it was very spiritually uplifting. Made some new friends and reconnected with some old friends, and that was good. Reconnected with a great teacher of mine, Rabbi Joe. Not Rabbi. He's not a rabbi, but he's my rabbi. I'll say he wouldn't claim that title, but he's taught me so much. And this is Joey Weissenberg of the Rising Song Institute, and his new co-director of that institute, Rabbi Yosef Goldman, who is an incredible teacher of Torah and of music, and he was running the show. Let's see, and but that was all good stuff. This hasn't been a good week in the Jewish community, or a good couple of weeks, I'll say. And I'd be irresponsible not to address this. We have seen a rash of, or rather an escalation in anti-Semitic violence, I'll say, assaults, physical assaults that have happened in the last couple of weeks. I think in the period leading up to Hanukkah, including Hanukkah, there was something like 9 attacks in New York City, like violent physical altercations that happened, and then after that there was a stabbing in Muncie, New York. It's sort of a suburb of New York City, big Jewish enclave there. Person came into a rabbi's house while a bunch of people were gathered for a Hanukkah celebration and just started stabbing folks. I think he had a machete or a big knife or something like that. Something like 5 people were injured. Baruch Hashem, last I heard, nobody perished from that attack, but people are in need of healing, and I think the community is in need of healing, and it's continued since then. Right, we see more news about these things happening more and more lately, and I'm not, going to hazard a guess as to the cause of these things. People have different opinions, political, sociological. I just want to kind of call them out and say none of it's okay, and will bring to people's attention as often as I can that these things are happening, because there has been an upsurge. We don't have the complete numbers from 2019 yet, but I know the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, published reports, year-over-year comparisons of, say, 2017, 2018, 2016, in 2017, anti-Semitic incidents were up drastically, like I think 57% year over year. The number of violent attacks, when we say incidents, that could be anything from an assault to graffiti or, scary phone call or whatever, but actual attacks involving physical violence doubled between 2017 and 2019. The numbers for 2017 and 2018, and the number for 2019 haven't been tabulated yet. Not looking forward to that, frankly, just to hearing what those are. But I do believe we need to call these out. I do believe we need to make these public so that we understand that it's happening, so nobody sweeps it under the rug, so that we're fully aware of what's going on. I did have a discussion. I think I should. I hate to talk about this because it's ugly, and I wish it weren't happening, but I have to talk about this. A couple of weeks ago, or actually I just noticed when I was going on this live stream, whenever I hit the go live button, it shows me what the title is of like the last live stream we did, and it was anti-Semitism in America and what to do about it. And these are all the things I'm talking about are things that have happened since then over the last 2-3 weeks. But I think I mentioned then that I had a friend named Sam. Sam is a Holocaust survivor from Poland. He's 92 years old. And every once in a while, on my way home from work, I'll stop by his place and he'll put out some cheese and crackers and stuff, and we'll talk. And what we were talking about was this man said, what are we doing in our religious school in the synagogue that is kids, grades kindergarten through 8th grade, 7th grade, something like that. What are we doing to prepare them to be safe? What do we do? Are we teaching self-defense? Are we teaching practical skills like not going out alone at night? And the reason he was sort of pushing me on this, he's like, I was around in Poland in the 30s. This feels like then. And to have this guy who lived through that say, I need you to tell our 6th and 7th graders that they shouldn't go out by themselves at night in the United States of America in 2020. And that broke my heart. And that we have to confront that reality. So I shared with my congregation, right now I'm working in Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center, and I said, okay, let's be real about what's happening. Let's recognize it. Let's notice it. Let's let other people know about it. What do we do about it? Right? In the meantime, we've got security measures. In the meantime, we need to practice situational awareness. For me, the long game is this. We need, whether you're Jewish or whether you're Jew curious and you like to do Jewish things and learn about Jewish things, for people who embrace the Jewish life, the most important thing we could do is live our Jewish lives with joy in public. That means let other people see us enjoying our lives. We're not, I think all of this hate is bred and thrives in the atmosphere of ignorance. People hurt Jews because of things they've heard about Jews, not because of Jews that they know. And they hear these conspiracies. This is, some people say this anti-Semitism is like the world's oldest conspiracy theory. They hear things about Jews. They hold Jews responsible for things that A, didn't happen, and B, they wouldn't have witnessed, but they heard about from some other egghead. I'm trying not to use harsh language. This is a family-friendly show. They heard about from somebody else, and so it's become open season on Jews. I feel like the more people get to know us and what we're about, the more we dispel that ignorance and the safer we all become, right? So I say, if you have a star around your neck, wear it. If you have a kippah on your head, wear it. Be proud of who you are in public. Go out to the town square when they're doing the menorah lighting. Don't be afraid. And I know it's scary, and the data bears out it might be dangerous, but we have to live our lives in public and not go into hiding, because that hiding feeds on the ignorance that makes us less safe. Also, as a part of living our Jewish lives in public, we need to act out our Jewish values in public. Help your community. Help feed the hungry. Help clothe the people who don't have enough clothes. Help house the people who don't have enough housing. Go out and do good work in your community as a publicly proud Jewish person. say, I'm here doing this because the Torah, instructs me that this is the right way to live. Let people know that that's what's up. And the more our neighbors know that we care about our community just as much as they do, and that we love our children just as much as they love their children, the more we dispel this ignorance, the safer we become. That is the long game. And it's hard. And it's scary. But, and I said this to my community, like, I'm not exactly sure when this trend is going to end. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to solve this problem. But I do know that the very best way to face it is together. And so that's, I wanted to get that message across to people watching this video today, wherever you're coming from, and happy to answer any questions that people have about that. But it's just something I had to get off my chest. I hope that's, if that's been a downer, I'm sorry. If it's been helpful for any of you, I'm really glad. But I wanted to get some serious stuff. Even though it's Fun Friday, this is something we're facing right now. And the more allies we have, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Jew curious, the safer I feel, and the better I feel about the safety of my family. So thank you all for listening to that rant. Really happy that you're here. As Nawa 64, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people live and endure. Yes. All right. So my Twitch stream stopped at 10:41. Am I the only one? So let's see. I'm going to check on the, where's the multi-chat here, just in case I'm missing any messages from Facebook or YouTube. Let's see. We've got Jacob Kerbash says hello from Florida. Let's see. I'm just going to go through the multi-chat here. We have this great gift that with the software that I use, I can see chats from Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. So wherever you're joining us, please feel free to jump in, ask what questions you have, share what good wishes you have to share. Trying to expand this. Like, how do I zoom in? Because it's tiny, tiny print, y'all. It's like the Rashi script on my Daf Yomi Talmud. Okay, there's a little inside. Let's see what else is going on. Lee Tyrell says that's a great game. We're doing Untitled Goose game today and here in just a minute. So let's see. I miss you all so much. Says Triggers and Viv. Looking for the Facebook and YouTube comments. Jacob Kerbash says, what type of Jew are you? Are you conservative? You seem like a conservative Jew. I'll say I'm a Jewish Jew. I do daven at a conservative synagogue, and I am a rabbi ordained in the conservative movement. But that's my job title. That's not necessarily who I am. So if you want to draw distinctions between Jews, that's fine. Right now, I think we're probably better sticking together than lumping each other into categories. But that's just me. So, Rabbi, I love the shirt. Thank you. Let's see. What else do we have here? Hello from Florida. Thanks. Let's see. Hi, Jacob. The rabbi is conservative. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. What is this name? I'm sorry for getting out of the frame. Or thank you. I should say. Somebody told me, like, don't apologize, say thank you. So thank you for letting me duck out of the frame. My mini chat is in tiny print, and I haven't updated my bifocals prescription yet. Say what? So Fortune Sykes says, shalom, Rabbi from New York, from New Jersey, New York. It's a great place to be. I was just there. I love it very much. Somebody says, I miss Hanukkah. Let's see. KG Wilcox says, I know I found my people. Look at how excited we are about the new Daf Yomi cycle. Boy, this is a thing. I don't know if you've heard of this Daf Yomi cycle. That's something that's happening soon. And if I seem a little nervous, it's not just all the coffee I've had today. I'm actually pretty nervous about the Daf Yomi cycle. I attempted this last time. So if you're not familiar with Daf Yomi means a daily page or a page a day. And I have a good example. Where's my Daf Yomi? It's over there. I don't want to knock anything over. So what this means is there's the Talmud. I don't know if you've heard of this. This great book. It's called the Talmud. It's actually, when I say book, it's like a set of encyclopedia size book. And this is a recording of rabbis' conversations going back to the time of the Mishnah, approximately 120 to 200 of the Common Era, which is a codification in its time of the various mitzvot of the Torah. So you can kind of look at it as a commentary on the Torah. So we have the Torah that's, depending on who you ask, about 3,000, 4,000 years old. Around the turn of the Common Era, around 120 or 200 Common Era, some rabbis said, okay, a lot of this stuff was sort of oral history. People had memorized different arguments of different rabbis or different assertions and discussions of rabbis about how to live what's in the Torah. And they sort of published that or redacted that, put it together in about the 2nd century of the Common Era. And then they kept talking about that and recorded more of those conversations in 2 different sets of Talmud, the Talmud Yerushalmi, or the Jerusalem Talmud, if you will, and the Talmud Bavli, or the Babylonian Talmud. Jerusalem Talmud, I want to say, came together around 400 of the Common Era. The Babylonian Talmud more in like the 600 to 800 year of the Common Era range. And about, say, 75, 80 years ago, roughly, I think we just finished, I don't know which cycle we just finished, early in the 20th century, this rabbi said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could, make a plan to study the whole Talmud together? And he calculated, based on the number of dapim, or the number of folio pages, that is a sheet of paper front and back, if you studied one folio page, one front and back of a page, every single day, you could finish the entire Talmud in only 7.5 years. Are you with me? So several people said, yes, we're with you. And so they started doing this, and much like our fixed lectionary, our reading cycle, where Jews around the world read the same parsha from week to week, the same Torah portion, Daf Yomi works the same way. You don't just start at the beginning wherever you are, you sort of jump in where the schedule says. And so everybody around the world is studying the same page on a given day. And we're about, 10, 11, 12 cycles into this thing. People, you get to the end, just like the Torah, you get to the end of it, and the cycle starts over again. So last time this started, I was in rabbinical. Two things were going on. One, I was in rabbinical school, which meant I was very gung-ho to be studying Torah, and I still am. But my schedule was a little bit different. I was a graduate student. I didn't have the responsibilities that I have now. So I thought, yes, this is a good time to do Daf Yomi. The other thing that happened, well, I'll put it this way. My youngest child is about 7.5 years old. So right after I started, my daughter was born, and I was having a hard time keeping up. And one of my teachers said, if you have a newborn in the house, you get a pass from Daf Yomi this time around. And I say that, I was telling that story to another great rabbi, wonderful Rabbi Avi Killip, who works at Machon Hadar as, I think, their VP of programming or something like that. I was like, yep, I didn't do Daf Yomi last time because we had a newborn in the house. And she says, well, I had a newborn in the house too, and I did Daf Yomi. She just completed it. And so I felt like, oh man, she did it, I didn't do it. So, but anyway, good on her. This time I'm committed to doing it, but I face it with great trepidation. A page a day doesn't sound like a lot. Takes, depending on how deep you want to go, takes 15, 30, 60 minutes to do that page. But it's a serious commitment. It's daily study, which, we're called to do anyway. But the Talmud isn't just like, it's not like reading The Great Gatsby. It's not like reading a linear history or a well-organized law code. It's mostly written in tangents and just jumps all over the place. Like any given page of Talmud, when you're reading it, presume it's sort of written in short, sometimes like legalistic shorthand, or legalese, I should say, shorthand. And it sort of presumes knowledge of all the rest of the Talmud. And so it's like setting the task of reading Wikipedia and following all the links while you're doing it. So anyway, that's a big thing that's coming up. Somebody says, can you recommend any secondary sources for Talmud newbies? So anyway, that's what Daf Yomi is. It's reading a page of Talmud every day. And by page, I mean sort of front and back of a sheet of paper. And if you do that every day, you can finish the whole thing in 7.5 years. I know a number of people who've done this. I know a number of people, including myself, or, well, let me say it differently. I know a number of people who are trying this for the first time. I'm actually trying it for the second time. I didn't make it very far the last time, but there we go. So people are asking, my Jewish Learning is going to send out daily emails. They have a Facebook group. There are podcasts. I found one that's only 5 minutes a day. Also, Hadran's Daf Yomi for Women is really good. Have it open up my app. Really simple daf. So I'll say what's different this time is that there's so, I mean, last time there were a lot of resources available too, but this time there's so many resources available, secondary resources. I would look for, I think it's on My Jewish Learning, look for Rabbi Avi Killip, Killip. She just wrote a great article, sort of like 7 tips for jumping into Daf Yomi. And I don't want to paraphrase. I don't want to mess up anything that she said because she's got some great tips in there. So look for AVI Killip on My Jewish Learning, how to do Daf Yomi. And in there, I believe she lists 3 really great podcasts for people at different levels with different interests who might want to use those as secondary sources. But there are apps. I'll say in the beginning of the last cycle, this great resource came out, especially for people who are still working on their Hebrew and Aramaic, or let me say Babylonian Aramaic legal jargon is the language that a lot of the Talmud is written in. So this great resource came out about 7.5 years ago, the Koren edition of the Talmud. So it's got the full, Vilna Shas page, the full like thing, no punctuation, no vowels, anything like that, which is hard to read if you haven't practiced it quite a bit. But it's also got the Steinsaltz. It's fully translated into English, not just the Talmud page itself, but also Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz's commentary on it as well. So look for Koren Publishers, Koren, and they have a subscription service where if you don't want to buy like the whole set, which is not cheap, right? I don't know what it is, but it's like in the 4 figures probably if you bought a whole set at once. But what you can do is they have a sort of a subscription service where I think you pay $40 a month, and every month they send you a new volume. And so that way you can build up your collection over time, kind of in sync with how you're learning through it. So I think that's a good resource. If you want a physical book in your hands, I think for beginners, the Koren, my understanding, I haven't really studied out of it much myself, but the Koren English translation of the Babylonian Talmud is a great resource. You don't have to buy it all at once. You can subscribe to it. And also, I believe that comes with PDF pages of all of it. So if you want to read it on a tablet or something like that, you can do that too. So those are some great resources. So thanks for what have you, and if you have resources, please list them. KG Wilcox has some good ones in here. Bookish Oddish says, any advice for someone who wants to try getting into the Daf Yomi cycle starting soon? So my first thing I'll say is go to Rabbi Avi Killip's article, 7 tips for doing Daf Yomi. She lists some great resources. Sign up for those kind of daily nudge emails from My Jewish Learning is a great resource. I see, let's see, Sienna 51 says Safaria also has the Talmud, I think. Yes, Safaria has all of it. I think most, if not all of it, in English translation, as well as the passages in the original Hebrew and Aramaic. So Safaria is a great resource. It is free. It also has hyperlinks to commentary, many of which has been translated into English as well. Let's see. Do you have any experience with sets like Art Scroll's Daily Dose? I don't. I mean, I don't have Art Scroll's Daily Dose. I will say, I want to be careful how I say this because I'm in the spirit of Ahavat Yisrael. I don't want to divide people in different Jewish communities. I will say that our Art Scroll has a particular, what's the word? There's a particular place it's coming from when it's translating, and it's translating very much for the traditionally, not the traditionally observant, an Orthodox read on the tradition, and also some of its translations aren't full translations. It'll use inside language like yeshivish speak for certain concepts. So I think Art Scroll has done an incredible job of making so much Jewish literature available to people who may not have that Aramaic background. I do always like to put a caveat in there. If you have a more liberal approach to Judaism and you read Art Scroll, you will notice it has a different approach to Judaism. So I'll put it that way. Fully endorsing the work that they do. If you want a little bit more expansive translation, I would go with the Koren publishers myself, but that's me. So Michael Pacheco says, I'm looking for study stuff from peeps like me who aren't quite gutsy enough to try Daf Yomi. There's some good stuff out there. we had Bo in here was recommending Chokli Israel, and that's another thing. Like if you look up Chokli Israel, I think you check it out at echok.org, like ECHOK. There is another daily study thing that is out there called Chokli Israel. This is a different rabbi came up with this several years ago, where it's a digest of a little bit of Torah, a little bit from the prophets, a little bit from the writings. So you cover all the Tanakh. It's also got a little bit of Mishnah, a little bit of Gemara, a little bit of Halacha, a little bit of Kabbalah. Most of it, not the Kabbalah, but the other stuff is provided in English translation. But Google eChok or ECHOK, and it has it in PDF, and that again is a daily cycle of study where you get a little bit from all the different big genres of Torah and rabbinic literature, which I think is a great thing. So Butch Feeling says, a converting friend of mine, further in the conversion journey than I am, gifted me a Jewish study Bible so we could study together. That's a great thing. Mazel tov on that. Yeah, I really am a fan of the JPS Jewish Study Bible. It's got a lot of good resources and commentary and historical guidelines and things like that. So we've been going for about half an hour now. I think it is high time to get into Fun Friday. I'm about to start a brand new game that I've never played before. You get to be there for the beginning of it, so I'll probably be, futzing through it for a little bit if you'll, and I'll thank you for your patience. I have a little bit of the Go Juice. Really glad to see everybody here. Michael Pacheco, 92, old friend. Sienna, 51, new friend. Thanks for mentioning Safaria. That is a great free resource that anybody with an internet connection can access. This stuff wasn't around, I'll say. When I started learning, if I wanted to study Talmud, I had to find. I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Great Jewish community. This was before Safaria. This was before you could find just about any Jewish book in the world that you could order online. And my favorite place is seforimcenter.com. SEFORIM center.com. You can order, back in the day, if I wanted Maseches Brachos, if I wanted Masechet Brachot, the first volume or tractate of the Talmud, I think that our local Jewish gift shop had just closed or didn't carry it, so I had to go to a Chabad house that also had a very small, modest bookstore to buy that. So you had to know a guy to get Jewish books when I started out, and even when I started rabbinical school, going on 11 years ago, a lot of this stuff you couldn't just order online, like Mishnah Berurah, some of my Torah with commentaries and some basic halakha texts. You had to go to a neighborhood, know a place to go. It was like Diagon Alley. It was like Harry Potter in the Wizarding World for the first time. And if you're in New York or LA, it's easy to find that stuff, or Jerusalem, but in the Midwest, not so much. Fast forward 11 years, now we have eDaf apps to keep you in the loop. Now we have dozens of podcasts talking about the Daf Yomi. Now we have so many resources that weren't available before. But we also have rabbis who play video games. So we're just going to jump into that. KG Wilcox says, you can go old school and borrow them from your library, ask for interlibrary loan. They'll be thrilled. Really, we love a challenge. Yes, that's actually a great solution as well. So here we are. Happy Fun Friday, everybody. We're going to play a little bit of Untitled Goose Game. And I have no better place than to begin. So, let me see what you're hearing. Oh, what a pleasant soundtrack we have here. I don't know if you can hear me okay. Let's see. Yep, if you can hear that music, maybe I'll turn it down a little bit. Okay. Save. Okay, we'll do that. Seems pretty simple and straightforward so far. Pull the screen a little closer. Oh, sorry. Looking at my ball pate. Pull that a little bit closer. That's good radio. All right, it's a green scene. There's trees. Looks to be a little path. Press Y to honk. Don't mind if I do. Oh, there's a goose in there. Hey, what's up, Goose? And here he comes. Hold B to run. I can just walk, or I can run. Oh, but it can't slow down his bell. I'm learning how to be a goose. Okay. What happens? The goose is like water. Okay. Plus ZL. Oh, to bend forward. All right, learning how to steer a goose. Let's see. Nawa 64. Let's see, before we get too far with this goose, we got a question. Rabbi, someone from another platform has asked about conservative and modern Orthodox, etc. Let's take a look in the... let's see. Oh, I've lost my multi-chat. Done, ready to receive. Okay, yeah, sometimes bad things happen on technology, and I've lost that question. Somebody was asking, so I'll say if you're chatting with me, ready to receive chat messages for Jew Curious. Looks like maybe we lost our unified chat, or it's starting over again, rebooting it. Okay, so I'm sorry if anybody from Facebook or YouTube has asked me a question lately. Please jump back in there and ask, because it looks like I've lost my multi-chat record here. And thank you for your patience as I learn this technology. So somebody asked a question about conservative versus modern Orthodox. You know, I'll say that, let's see, Jacob Kerbach Daf Yomi. Right. So if you have a question about distinctions between various denominations, where they came from, what the differences are, please feel free to ask that on YouTube or on Facebook or in the Twitch chat, and I'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully, I won't lose those to the ether again. So glad to have you. Yeah, I'm glad to have people ask questions. What is this? Press A to use your beak. I have a boot. Now I have a boot. And I put it on a bicycle. Let's see. Bend down, pick things up off the ground. I have a can. Press it. And I put the can right there. I have a... Can I get that rock? Nope. Can I get the tennis ball? Okay. Put that on the stump. Oop. Okay, and now I know how to pick stuff up. Take that gate. I should put that down. Whoop. Okay, there's a goose in my boot. Thank you for the Toy Story reference. Okay, so now something tells me the goose isn't supposed to be going in there. Oh, look at that. I'm in the Untitled Goose. Now it's 64. Rabbi, discussing the Jewish music community, have you been to Pico Union? If so, how is it? Looks a bit avant-garde. I'll say I have not been to the Pico Union project. I know a couple of people. Well, so I know one person who's been there quite a bit is my good friend and colleague, Rabbi Scott Wessel, who's one of the school rabbis at the Heschel Jewish Day School, and he has been involved in that some. I think it's more led by a fellow named Craig Taubman, who's a Jewish musician, and I think what little I know is, I think they took over an old synagogue that had been converted to church or something, but they got this space, and now they do Jewish events in that space. They do services. I don't know if they have high holidays, but it is very focused on creativity and music. That's all I know. I don't want to talk about stuff I don't know about, but if people are interested in Jewish music and using that in a sacred way, I think the Pico Union Project is a great thing to check out, because I've heard good things. It's probably not everybody's cup of tea, but let's see, I'm going to eat this sandwich. And put this sandwich over here. Can I? Oh, okay, there goes your lunch. There goes your apple. There goes your sandwich. So yeah, I don't know if I'd characterize it as avant-garde. I would say it's probably a little bit not the same thing as you'd experience if you went to services at the synagogue where I am, but that's okay. I think there's room for Jewish diversity, especially when we are trying to make services more engaging for people and making more accessible to people who aren't accustomed or are frankly are not drawn in by traditional prayer services, which can have sort of a high barrier of entry, like a high barrier of knowledge required for participating. Nawa says we're looking for things to do in LA, preferably Jewish, and so that's what we'll be there for. Pico Union Project is great. I'll say, depending on where you're staying, Icar is a great place to see. It's another community that really incorporates music into a very, I'll say, the order of service is very traditional. They use conservative prayer books, but they also very much incorporate music into their services as well in a very good way. So that's a good thing to do. You know, LA is an embarrassment of riches when it comes to Jewish stuff to do. So especially if you're up for diverse experiences. So let's see. Can I read this? Let's see. Fortune Sykes says any weekly and Sabbath Sederim you could recommend for beginners. There's a couple that I would recommend. Again, this goes back to when I was first learning how to pray, and when I was first learning my way through the Siddur. The Art Scroll Siddur was recommended to me because, and I still recommended this to people. And I know I said about Art Scroll previously, it's got a different, I'll say, theological bent than I have and that many of my students have. However, it is probably the most complete Siddur translated into English you can find. It also has quite a bit on what I call choreography, like when do I bow and things like that. Like if you look at a most conservative Siddurim, for example, I don't know a lot about Reform Siddurim, I just haven't spent a lot of time with it, but conservative Siddurim will have the words in there, but won't tell you when to bow. The exception, I think, is the Siddur Lev Shalem. This is a newer Siddur, just been out in the last couple of years, so it's a conservative prayer book. It does have a lot more sort of interlineal material, a lot of transliterations. Like if you're still learning the Hebrew and you want the English characters to sound out the words, there's a lot of that in there. And it also has little signals. Okay, this is the part where I bow. This is the part where I stand. This is the part where I sit. The Lev Shalem has a lot of that. I'll say the Art Scroll Siddur has more of that, but it is a Siddur from an Orthodox perspective or a more fundamentalist perspective. So check that out if that's your speed. I always, go with something that has what you need, and as you become more practiced in prayer, you'll find volumes that suit your needs better at that point. So I would take a look at depending on where you're coming from, the kind of communities you're praying in, I would take a look at the Siddur Lev Shalem, and also at the Art Scroll, maybe side by side if you have access to that, and then pick the one that you're going to use. That's like pick one that's open. So that's where I would go with that. So let's see. I'm a goose. I'm going to turn on. Whoop, whoop. Go away. Get into the garden. Check. Did that. Haha, I got your keys, dude. Nope. Oh, hey. Yeah. All right, let's see. Michael Pacheco, I noticed that the personal edition of the Siddur Shalom is in print again. Yeah, that's nice. It was, I think it was out of print for a while. That's kind of hard to, you have to have young eyes for that one. I know. I get stuck in the corner again. All right, let's see. As a conservative Jew, have you ever davened in a modern Orthodox shul when you were you counted in the minyan? If so, did you receive an aliyah? Good question. So here's the thing: like, I don't wear a name tag as to what denomination I have davened in modern Orthodox shuls several times. In fact, when I was in Israel, that's predominantly where I went to daven because that was well, we would daven in the conservative shiva on weekdays because that's where we were there to learn. But often, for the time I studied in Israel, I mostly davened in modern Orthodox shuls because I didn't back in Los Angeles, and I hadn't really had that experience. So I was looking for experiences that were different from what I was accustomed to. So I spent a lot of time looking at different modern Orthodox spaces, and even some less modern Orthodox spaces, some kind of Haredi spaces as well. And the thing is, like, they're not checking. Nobody was checking my seat. Nobody was asking me, okay, are you an Orthodox Jew or a Reformed Jew? Like, if you're there and you look like you're making yourself comfortable and you know what you're doing, they'll say, if you want an aliyah, have an aliyah. I went to a place for, I think it was, I want to say it was second day Rosh Hashanah in Jerusalem in this sort of Breslaver minyan. So a group of like Hasidic Jews who we were doing second day Rosh Hashanah in a classroom. Like it was like the schools were closed because it was a holiday, and they had just rented this classroom space, and they offered me ptricha. It was like I don't know, didn't read out of the Torah or anything, but they invited me up for the honor of opening the curtain in front of the Torah, and so a lot of Jewish spaces they don't really check your ID when you do these things. They don't say, okay, are you Orthodox enough to count in a minyan? Now, I say that fully aware of my male privilege in those settings. So I was there, as a Jewish person praying with other Jewish people, but they were also in non-egalitarian prayer spaces. And so I have to own that I'm much more comfortable in egalitarian spaces where women have sort of the same geographic rights and the same rights for leadership. And so I've enjoyed my time davening in modern Orthodox spaces, but I also know that women might have a totally different experience because they might be set aside to another part of the property, and so I want to own that. So I've had a fine time davening in Orthodox spaces. I can't speak for my female colleagues and co-religionists the same way. So yeah, I mean, I think And my friends have had similar experiences. Like wherever you go in the world, they're like, if you're there to pray, they'll let you pray. But I acknowledge that women might not have the same experience that I've had. So just want to be real with that. Wooden Bullet is here. Good to see you. Is there a central registry for Daf Yomi participation, or is it a free for all? You know what? I think there's so many people participating in it, and Jews in general like to stay off lists if we can. Uh, that you might have. I'll say I won't say that there's a central organization that's recording everybody who's doing it, but you might have local organizations where you might have, like, for example, I think the alumni Facebook page of my rabbinical school, somebody started a Google sheet, say, okay, who's participating? And so you might find like a local list of people who are participating versus a national. I'm not saying that it's not out there. There might be some resources online where it's like, hey, if you're doing Daf Yomi, sign up for this. And certainly if you want to sign up for My Jewish Learning has its own separate email list for people who are doing Daf Yomi, and they'll send you like a daily nugget about the Daf Yomi. So there are places you can sign up to receive information. I won't say that there's a national registry of Daf Yomi participants. If there was, I'd be kind of leery, as it is in our current environment of being on a master list of Jews someplace. I did see a pretty humorous thing recently where, and it's sort of darkly humorous, where there was it was a kind of text conversation between a neo-Nazi and a synagogue administrator, meaning like neo-Nazi was like, oh, we've got to get a list of all the Jews in the area, and the synagogue administrator was like, oh, we have a whole database of our congregants, and the guy's like, oh, I got to get my hands on that, and he's like, and the synagogue administrator was like, do you know how hard it is to keep a good list? To keep a database of people there it's accurate. He's like, because like it's not accurate, people come in, people leave, we don't take them off the list when they die, so it was this thing like, this neo-Nazi wanted a list of all the Jews, and the synagogue administrator was like, we have a hard enough time keeping track of people in our own community. Good luck finding your master list. So I know that's kind of dark, but anybody who's tried to wrangle Jews together has had similar experiences of it not being as easy as it sounds. All right, let's see. Good questions, guys. So it's Woolen Bullet says, Law signed up to My Jewish Learning this afternoon. Okay, so there's got to be something to this bothering the farmer besides just bothering the farmer. Okay, I'm going to take this carrot. All right. Woolen Bill say, I hear that my shul has been talking about creating a digital database of members, and people raise security concerns given the current climate. It's good to have an email list. It's good to be able to contact people for various reasons. But it is notoriously hard to keep a good contact list straight. All right, I know somehow I'm supposed to get the keys from this guy. Okay, I have keys. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do with keys. Okay, so I think this game, I'm sure, is fun at some point. Take that key, pal. And here we go. Now the garden is mine. So now it's 64. What's the objective of the Goose game? Now I think I have a garden. What? Okay. So there we go. Oh, how'd you get your keys back? And to what end? I don't know. I think I'm trying to figure that out myself. What is the objective of this Goose game? Let's see. Make the groundskeeper wear his sun hat. Put the rake in the... Okay, now I know what I'm supposed to do. Bring the picnic blanket, sandwich, apple, pumpkin, carrots, jam, thermos, radio, basket. Make the groundskeeper wear his sun hat. Put the rake in the lake. So now I know what to do in this game. It's starting to become clear. Okay, so now I got to make the farmer wear his sun hat. Okay, where is this sun hat? All right, so here on the this is the Jew Curious Show. In case you're curious, we are here to answer whatever questions you have about Judaism. We're going to play a little bit more of this game. I think this is probably more fun for me than it is fun for you to watch. So in any case, we're having a great time here. Really glad to see you back after a couple of weeks away. Happy to answer what questions people have about Jewish stuff while I confound this farmer with the Untitled Goose game. So what are my objectives? I got to put the rake in the lake. So you can't get back out that way. Say Twitch is being weird for me today. Am I showing up in the chat? Yes. Let's see. Tupenvelden. Good to see you, Britain. Yep, we're here. Now, Twitch is being weird because I'm playing this game, which I'm waiting to be fun. So I don't know if it's fun for you guys, but I'm waiting for it to be fun myself. It is kind of fun goosing a farmer, but it's not a great game for having conversations about. Not as nearly as exciting as Mario Kart. So let's see. I need some jelly. Have a picnic over here. Let's see. Picnic blanket. Bring to the picnic blanket sandwich, apple, pumpkin, carrot, jam, thermos, radio, and basket. Okay, if I can get all of those things, maybe I'll annoy the farmer. All right, let's see. If you have any questions at all about Judaism, feel free to ask them in the chat, whether you're joining us on Facebook or on YouTube or here on Twitch. I'll say that it's been a fun holiday, but I've been missing you guys. So glad to be back with you here on the Jew Curious Show. We had some people asking questions about Daf Yomi, people asking about the difference in conservative and modern Orthodox prayer spaces. Let's see. I'll say in Orthodox prayer spaces, less English is used. I've even been in a place where, page numbers were called in Yiddish, a synagogue that I went to back in Minneapolis. Where do I find class times for the Jew Curious School? We're going to be having class times. We're going to make a little bit of an adjustment because we've been doing it Wednesdays at 2. It happens that the next couple of Wednesdays, some things are coming up for me. I have to do get my fingerprints taken for a particular thing that I'm doing with the LAPD. I shouldn't talk about it too much, but so we're going to be changing class times up a little bit soon. We still are going to be resuming our weekly Torah in the next week, and we're starting a new class just because of what's been going on. I've talked a little bit about this in our Introduction to Judaism class, but I want to do a whole mini course on the topic of anti-Semitism. So we're going to do a 4-part course. We're going to talk about the biblical basis, our encounter with other religions, as well as some more recent, let's say, racial sources of anti-Semitism. So we're going to go over those things, plus share some of the thoughts I've had about how to combat it, how to deal with it when you encounter it. I'll say when I became more a part of the Jewish community, anti-Semitism was much more, let's say, academic. You didn't see it as much or as prevalent as you do today. And so I want to make sure that everybody in the school understands where it's coming from, recognizes it when you see it, and how to deal with it. So that's a mini course we're going to be starting next week in the Jew Curious School, and the class times will be posted in the community forum area. So check that out. We've been a little bit irregular for the last couple of weeks as people, as I've been out of town, as we've had kind of a break, but those will be posted soon. So we'll start back with our weekly Torah class next week, as well as a brand new mini course on anti-Semitism. Those are the live classes. Any other classes, they're sort of recorded and they're out there to watch at your leisure, at your convenience. So check that out. So thanks for asking a great question. Let's see, make the groundskeeper wear his sun hat. I don't know where this sun hat is. How do we make the groundskeeper wear a sun hat? Hello, everyone. Carla J., good to see you here. The sun hat is on the shed door. Thank you so much. I'm rolling a pumpkin. Okay, how do I... Oh, almost got it. Woohoo! Forgive me if you already covered this topic, but what are some good halakhic reasons or any reasons for Jews to avoid celebrating Christmas? Well, I'll say if you're asking for Jews not celebrating Christmas, it's not our holiday. I'll put it that way. There's sort of halakhic reasons, there's cultural reasons. I know that there are Jewish people who have trees and get together with non-Jewish family members. I'll say one reason for well, I won't say celebrating Christmas, but I will say that I know a lot of Jewish people who have Christian people in their family and people in their family who celebrate Christmas. And there is a way to engage with, I won't say you can't go to your family's house anymore, you can't talk to that family during Christmas. That's the opposite of what I want to say. I know, I have parents who celebrate Christmas. My children have grandparents who celebrate Christmas, and there have been times where we'd visit those family during the holiday, and we're there with them, not necessarily to celebrate Christmas in the same spirit that they celebrate Christmas, but we're there to honor them and get together with them and honor our mothers and fathers. That's in the top 10. And so I will say, don't let it come between you and your family, but it's also good to have a conversation with your family so that they understand it's like, look, I'm there for you, I'm not there for him, say. And so that's one way in which people can engage with, family members, friends for whom Christmas is a holiday. But there's also good reasons why, if you're Jewish, that's not really our holiday. I mean, you are celebrating the birth of a figure who was Jewish but made a clear departure with Jewish practice, and whose disciples advocated eschewing many parts of our tradition. And so I think for me, that's sort of a good enough reason that I don't celebrate Christmas just about in any fashion, except getting together, office holiday parties, and I'll say Merry Christmas to people who celebrate Christmas. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't celebrate it in the same spirit that they do. So I think, if you're looking for a halachic reason, we don't celebrate other people's holidays. We have our holidays, and that's enough. And at some point, if you're celebrating Christmas or Easter, you are sanctifying the departures from your own religion that those things represent. And so I don't encourage people to celebrate Christian holidays themselves, but I also don't encourage them to separate themselves from family members who are celebrating those holidays. And I think with the right kind of frank, open conversations, you can negotiate those spaces, and it's not always easy. For example, if your kids' grandparents are Christian and they want to see the grandkids for Christmas, you can say, okay, well, I'm happy to bring them over. Do we understand each other that you're not going to try to make my kids into something that they're not? And I think if you have those kind of conversations honestly, then it might take some time, but you might be surprised as to how receptive your family is. So, and I think the more open and honest families can be with each other in general, that's not a bad thing. All right, the question is, how do I get this guy to wear his sun hat? I think what it's probably going to involve is waiting until he bends over. See if I can get all the way to the pond this time. If I can get to the pond, I can go out swimming. Come on, buddy. Let's see. Tubenvelden says, I know in some communities men wear a kittel when getting married. In a community where women also wear kittels in general, could she wear one to her wedding? I'm not getting married anytime soon, but I was watching Say Yes to the Dress last night and had thought about that. That's interesting. Like I don't know everything, and I haven't been everywhere. I'm not familiar with women wearing kittels, but I understand in egalitarian communities where men and women want to engage in the same kind of spiritual practice, I believe that there are probably women who want to wear kittels at their wedding. So I'm not opposed to it. I don't remember if I wore one during my wedding or not. But I know many people do wear kittles to the wedding, and I suppose a woman can wear a kittle too. So, I mean, there are communities that would probably frown upon that sort of thing, but there are communities that frown upon a lot of things. Those keys float somehow. Lock the groundskeeper out of the garden. Did that. All right, what else do I have to do? Oh. Rake in the lake, make the groundskeeper wear his sun hat, having a picnic. Bring to the picnic blanket sandwich, apple, pumpkin. Okay, I got the sandwich and the apple out there. Carrot, jam, thermos, radio, and basket. So, yes, I would say, going back to that original question, there are lots of good halakhic reasons not to celebrate Christmas, meaning, according, if you're looking at the halacha, the traditional Jewish law, we don't celebrate other people's holidays. Some do, but not everybody lives by halacha, and I'm not, some people would look at how I live my life, not having a beard, for example, although I have a halakhic basis for shaving with an electric razor. I had somebody ding me on that on YouTube recently, how come you don't have a beard and you call yourself a rabbi? No, I just interpret you shall not cut the corners of your beard differently. I use an electric razor. I don't use a razor blade for that same reason, but people do different things. Now, I think celebrating another religion's holidays with the intention of exalting that religion crosses a halachic line. If you're in the same space with family, celebrating what they celebrate in the intention of honoring your family, I think that's a different story. One thing that I do want to make clear, though, and this kind of folds into what's been going on after the last couple of weeks, historically speaking, and I know living human beings for whom this happened, and I know it's a tradition that carried on centuries before that. Christmas and Easter, especially Christmas, were times where people would physically attack Jews in the street or vandalize their businesses, or around Christmas there would be an upsurge of violence and threats and things against Jewish people. And so, if you wonder why Jewish people, especially of an older generation, are sensitive around the topic of kind of intermingling Judaism and Christmas, it's because they have fresh memories of being beaten up in the schoolyard on Christmas because it was Christmas, because they were Jews. And so I caution people to be sensitive about that if you think there's no harm in celebrating Christmas in a secular fashion. So just know that there are people in the Jewish community who have personal memories of being beaten up on Christmas because they were Jewish. And so I wouldn't take that kind of syncretism lightly if you want to honor the other people who are in the Jewish community with you. So just wanted to put that out there in case you don't hear it from anybody else. That's something that happens. So thanks for asking hard questions, and I hope the answers are helpful for you. Okay, so let's see. Now with 64, any idea about Jew Curious T-shirts I want to wear, one to raise awareness and combat anti-Semitism? I think that's going to be a project to take on right away. What do you guys think? So I have had people recommend, and I kind of endorse this idea. So maybe I could crowdsource this a little bit. I've got the logo, right? I've got the logo designed by some incredible designers who helped me with my original podcast cover. So I've got the logo in a good format. If you can maybe help me find, and you could post this here, you could post this in the Jew Curious school. I'm looking for union manufacturers of t-shirts, and so this is something Hadar does. This when they make their coffee mugs and t-shirts and stuff, they look for union shops to do that. And somebody in this community actually said, if we have t-shirts, can we have them union made? And that has been, I know that's an important principle to many people here. So if we can find a union manufacturer of t-shirts where maybe they can come in whatever color you like. I personally prefer black, but that's just me. So if you can help me find a source of t-shirt makers where I could just upload my logo and get these things printed out, I think that would be a lot of fun. So that's not a terrible idea. Let's see, now 64. Let's do a fundraiser. I think that'd be dope. Let's see, maybe we could upgrade the game so I'm not playing Goose Game. I like this game, but I'm not necessarily sure it's the most fun game to play on a live stream, at least till I figure out how to defeat this awful farmer. Okay, so let's see. I think we're going to go ahead and shut it down for today. I've had a wonderful time playing Goose Game with you. I may continue to play this over the weekend after Shabbos. But listen, everybody, it's been really great to get back together with you. I've missed you guys for the last couple of weeks. And so as we're entering the new year, we've got some new live Torah classes starting next week. We've got a new live but also recorded mini course on anti-Semitism in the Jew Curious School. We're going to continue doing these Fun Fridays. I've been thinking a lot about, okay, how often do I want to be live streaming? At least weekly. If there's a way we can ramp it up, I'd love to ramp it up. But have spent the last couple of weeks, I know, being quiet in the Jew Curious School and in the Jew Curious community, but that's been sort of recharging my batteries and thinking about how I want to show up and how I want to teach and what new things I'd like to add to our community in the coming year. So still thinking about that. If you have some ideas about what you want to learn, please let me know. I'll say that last year I discovered I'd made more videos than I had in any previous year. I made 108 videos on YouTube last year. Plus, over the course of the first year of the Jew Curious School, we've got like 100 to 120 lessons recorded in the Jew Curious School now. So I want to ramp that up a little bit. One idea I had, let me know what you think about this, is that, I'm just going to check this other number over here. One idea that I've had, let's see, well, I think you need to steal his current hat. I think that's true too. So one idea that I've had is I've done a lot of teaching about basic stuff in Judaism. I've done some Parshat HaShavua, introduced some more complex ideas, but I've done a lot of really basic stuff. I think in the coming year, I want to do more, let's say, in-depth teaching of rabbinic texts. And this is on YouTube, possibly in the Jew Curious School as well. But I want to go from the basic concepts, the Intro to Judaism stuff. If you want to learn Intro to Judaism with me, I've got a whole 26-lesson course in the Jew Curious School. I want to take it up a notch. And so I think as I'm making videos going forward on YouTube and in the school as well, I want to move on to Mishnah. Mishnah, as I said, is a rabbinic text circa 2nd century CE. I think rather than starting with Brachot, I'm going to start with Pirkei Avot. So maybe we'll get into some learning in Pirkei Avot, which is this just great collection of aphorisms from our sages as just a really good guide to life. And then we'll go work our way from Brachot forward. So just wanted to share that idea with you. You let me know if you think it's a good idea. If it's a stinker, I don't know. But do some more Parshat HaShavua on YouTube, in addition to the Jew Curious School, and teach some Mishnah as well. And thinking very seriously about, let's see, woohoo, Mishnah! Got lost in the weeds of Zerayim. Yeah, the weeds of Zerayim, I get that. There's a lot of stuff about weeds and Peah and things like that. But yeah, I want to do a little bit more advanced learning with you guys. I think you're ready for it. Maybe that'll spark our working more on Hebrew in the Jew Curious School as well. So a lot of great ideas that I have, but I really need this team to help me execute it. But I will say thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, for supporting each other, for being about the kindest community I've ever seen on the internet. So, and I know there's like a lot of dross out there in the internet, but this place has been a real safe haven for me, and I think for some other people here, where people can just kind of let themselves hang out knowing that they're supported by a bunch of kind people. So thank you for that. Really excited about the year to come and what we're going to do together. And thank you for playing Untitled Goose Game with me. I know it's mostly just been a goose wandering around. So I'm going to play this a little bit between now and our next Fun Friday to see if it gets more fun. If not, we'll find a fun game to play for Fun Friday. So with that, about to shut down here. Really grateful to all of you who've joined me today and who join me all the time. And until next time, heroes, peace.